Good night and welcome to another edition of The Real Talk. The Real Talk is, of course, a regular Monday night feature with Glenroy Soso Cuffy, who is our Public Relations Officer, and myself, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, political leader of the United Workers' Party. We are on every Monday and we always attempt to bring you the very best in information. Of course, we discuss issues of national importance, political issues, and tonight is no exception. Tonight, we are delighted to have all of you with us. We thank you for being there with us. We thank you so much for joining with us on this exciting edition of Real Talk, where we discuss issues of national importance. We continue to explore the political landscape here in Dominica. And of course, we just share with you as always. And I'm going to be starting tonight's program. We expect to be joined a little later by Glenroy Soso Coffee, who is engaged at this time, but who will be joining us a bit late tonight. So let me say welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of Lifeline. I know we have regular listeners, persons who listen to us on a very regular basis, and we are very happy to welcome you tonight. And if you're joining for the very first time, it's also a pleasure to have you with us on this edition of The Real Talk. All right, as we begin tonight, we are going to be bringing you some highlights of the press conference that took place last Thursday, where we were able to introduce to you three exciting candidates of the United Workers' Party. We were able to introduce to you Ms. Juliet Shillingford, who will be the candidate in the Roseau Central constituency. We'll be hearing from her in a little bit. We're also happy to introduce to you Honorable Delbert Paris, who will be the United Workers' Party candidate in the Marigot constituency. And we were also able to introduce to you Mr. Danny Lugay, who is the parliamentary, who will be, I said who will be, he's not yet. He served as a parliamentary representative for two terms. He won in 2014 and again in 2019, and did not contest the 2022 general elections because it was boycotted by the United Workers' Party. So we were able to introduce these three individuals, and in the coming weeks, we'll be having more candidates to display, or more candidates to introduce to the general public. We are very close to selecting our candidates for the Roseau Valley, Roseau South. We already have candidates for Cassibros. We have for Grand Fort, of course. We are very close in the Kalinago territory. We have candidates in Wesley, La Plaine, very, very close to doing that as well. Salisbury also in the mix there. So we are very, very good in terms of getting our candidates ready as we prepare ourselves for both a possible by-election, but also the possibility of a general election, which we expect to take place sometime after the confirmation period ends. And the confirmation period, as you know, goes on up until the 15th of October. Up until the 15th of October is this, and then afterwards, we are hoping that we will have a general election where we'll have a clean list for the general election. So, so we had this very, very interesting press conference. We expect to have one possibly next week, where we'll introduce a few more candidates to you of the United Workers' Party. So we are putting our house in order. We are getting ready. We are unified around a common purpose, and that is to bring meaningful change to Dominica. And I want to thank those of you who have been long suffering, but also very patient and expecting, the United Workers' Party to work well and to work in your best interests as we await the various decisions by government. So we are very, very delighted tonight to know that our candidates are coming together, that we're having discussions on all of the constituencies around Dominica, And at the end of the day, we'll be able to present persons of integrity, persons, solid individuals, as I keep saying, a mix of youth, of experience and competence, a very powerful, powerful mix of candidates as that reflects the Dominican society today. And we're very happy for that, extremely happy that persons continue to put their hands up to be part of the United Workers' Party. They continue to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to be engaged. I want to be a candidate for you in this constituency or the other. So that is moving along very nicely. We are very happy to announce, and we are very glad to know that progress is continuing in that regard. So as we move along today, we will have other issues, especially when we engage Glenroy Soso Coffee. But for now, what I want to do is I want to play some of the clips or some of the song bites from this. And I want to start with a very important one from the Roseau Central constituency, and that is Miss Juliet Shillingford, as she discussed why Roseau Central deserves better. As you know, Roseau is the is the capital of Dominica. We've been told many times over the 25 years of the Labour Party that Roseau will do a little bit makeover in Roseau, state of the art, all of those terms that have been used. By the end of the day, Roseau remains undeveloped. Roseau remains a place that is quite clearly in need of a facelift, broken sidewalks, overflowing gutters, just very dirty in some places, abandoned buildings, you name it, a multitude of problems that we've seen in the Roseau Central constituency. And some of those problems have been tackled head on by Julie. So let's listen to her and then we'll continue. So let us take this on with her.
Why are we still plagued with traffic and parking challenges? Why do we continue to see more people living on our streets, struggling with mental illness without meaningful solutions? The list is long, but I will spare you because you are already familiar with the list. You face it every day. The truth is simple. Roseau Central has been neglected. Roseau Central has not been a priority. And the people of Roseau Central deserve better. We deserve better.
All right, so here you have it. She's very clear. The list of problems with the Roseau Central constituency, as I said, the fact that the city is unkept. Most people do not like Roseau just for the fact it is cramped. It is a lot of work needs to be done, and a lot of work was promised, but so far this Labour Party government has not been able to deliver on the promise. And here we are, presenting to you a candidate that has the interests of the Roseau constituency at heart, a candidate who from day one will go to fight on behalf of the residents of Roseau. She was born in Roseau, raised in Roseau, a citizen of that city there in Roseau, in the middle of Roseau. Her father, Dr. Dorian Shillingford, a well-known medical practitioner here in Dominica for many, many, many years and across the region, across the world, worked in Africa and elsewhere. So someone who's truly committed to bringing that change there to the city of Roseau. So we wanted to introduce you to Juliet Shillingford tonight, of course, and she was introduced at the press conference, and that was what she had to say. She also had some very interesting words for the persons who needed to confirm, and we're going to hear from her on that, on the need to confirm.
To play their part, if you are not yet registered, get registered. If you are already registered, take the time to confirm that your name is on the new voters list. Stay engaged, stay informed, stay part of the conversation. And on election day, go out and vote. Because democracy works best when people take ownership of their future.
All right, so that was an admonition there by Miss Juliet Shillingford to the residents, not only of Roseau, but that's a message I believe that is well targeted, not only at the Roseau residents, but also at residents across Dominica, constituents across Dominica, on the need to go out there to confirm, to be a part of the process. So this is an exercise that attempts to cleanse the voters list that is outdated, that is bloated, and contains the names of literally thousands and thousands of persons who should be removed. And that is the process of cleansing that list. So if you want to remain on the list, if you live in Dominica, you want to remain on that list, you need to go out there and you need to really do that, to really be a part of that. And so, we are delighted that this message can continue to go out and it resonates with you. So if you have not done so, you're encouraged to find the confirmation center, go up there, get confirmed. They are now accepting birth certificates and a picture ID as along with an affidavit. So find out what is required, but make the effort. The onus is on you, the voter, to remain on the voters list and to be counted when election comes. All right. So we just heard from Juliet, another individual who was introduced at the press conference on Thursday was Mr. Delbert Paris. Delbert, of course, is a senator in the House, currently in the House of Assembly. He was nominated by the independent MP for the Marigat constituency, and today he's a member of parliament, but he has now been officially declared as the candidate for the Marigat constituency. So let us hear a little from Delbert as he reflects on that position.
We've gone through. I found myself reflecting and remembering a young boy from a close-knit community, raised in a small church that taught him the values of hard work, honesty, integrity, and service to your fellow man. This is why standing here today, it is surreal, because I never thought that these values learned in a community a few miles away from here, the same values that I tried to instill and use and to stand on, will be the same values and enduring principles and lessons that would land me here, where the people of a formidable constituency would entrust me, would believe in me, the same community that challenged me and nurtured me and grew me up, would say.
All right, so this was Delbert Paris, who is our new candidate, and that was some of his reflections there, reflecting on his youth growing up within the church and the values that were instilled in him at a very young age, and now determined to make a difference with the United Workers' Party in the Marigot constituency. So we're very happy to have Delbert with us, and also just to continue to share some of the other things that are going on. So this is part of what we spoke to about the candidates that we have. I'm going to play this. Okay.
Point you, but the information is completely false. I just stood there and told you and told all of Dominica that in the next couple of weeks we'll continue to enroll our candidates. People are putting up their hands in constituency after constituency. Persons who you never imagined wanting to get involved in politics. You saw a result of this, surely. Never thought she would be up. She says she's not a politician, but she put up her hand in the Rosa Central. We had candidates in Marigot, we had candidates in the Rosa North, candidates all across putting up their hands. And that is a very positive sign for us. It shows that people are supporting us. And I can tell you, you are going to get some serious candidates in the next show. You're going to see, and you're going to say, wow, I can guarantee that. So we are not struggling for candidates, contrary to what you've heard. We have people who are literally, fighting, I would put the words, to get to be the candidate in all of these constituencies. And we're very happy for that. It shows it shows the signs of a very healthy party, the party that is such, and that's, by the way, one of the ways you can test the health of a party and whether or not it is poised to win the next election, by the number of persons who are putting their hands up to serve the.
So here you have it. We continue to stress how critically important it is that the people of Dominica understand that the United Workers Party, we're not struggling for candidates. To the contrary, persons are putting their hands up, looking to working with us, looking to being a part of Team Dominica as we engage in this very solemn and critical task of restoring Dominica. It is clear to see that after 26, going on 27 long years of Dominica Labour Party rule, that Dominica needs a change, Dominica needs new thinking, Dominica needs a breath of fresh air, Dominica needs a political party that can look after the interests of the Dominican public, a party that truly cares. And some of the things that we've been talking about are really fundamental to what we expect to be doing as a party. And at this press conference, we made some very specific recommendations. And I want to go over some of those recommendations that we made with respect to what the United Workers' Party is expected to do as we go forward. So it is very important to bring this to your attention. We have some very specific recommendations that we've made, in particular to tackling the high cost of living. And here is what we offer to the Dominican public. We offer that we will tackle the high cost of living by radically changing and simplifying our tax system. Okay, so we're going to be streamlining the tax system because right now, as we saw in last week's program, if you purchase a vehicle for 1,000 US dollars and it is more than 16 years old, for 1,000 US dollar overseas, by the time you pay freight and the duties on the port, it comes to over 34,000 EC dollars. So we're talking about 34,000% on basically just one vehicle. And the reason for this are the number of taxes. So we have the VAT, you have the excise duties, you have the various charges, you have the environmental levy. And we are promising to the Dominican public that we will remove immediately on assuming office. We will remove, I repeat it again, I repeat it, not again, but I repeat it, we will remove the 10,000 environmental tax that is being imposed upon the people of Dominica. In addition to that, in order to help the Dominican public better cope and deal with the escalating cost of living, we, the United Workers' Party, will raise the minimum wage to at least $12 an hour. Importantly, because of our high levels of debt, we plan to pursue debt relief that will reduce our rising debt burden. Now, why is that important? Currently, Dominica, on every dollar that is earned by the government of Dominica, it spends 32 cents on debt servicing. In other words, it has to pay the interest on the debt and it has to pay the amortization. It has to bring down the stock of the debt. And every month, dutifully pays its debt obligation. At the end of the year, we are paying well over $100 million to bring our tax down, to bring our debt down. Our debt, which is more than our gross domestic product, it now is about 1.7 billion EC dollars. 1.7 billion EC dollars is what we owe to the local banking system, as well as the amount we owe to overseas banks, institutions, multilateral institutions, and governments. We owe close to $1.7 billion, and we pay over $100 million every time. So in order to get this at a reasonable level, our government will engage in substantive debt relief negotiations. We're going to make this a priority. We will reach out to our creditors, persons to whom we owe this huge debt, including multilateral institutions, foreign governments, and even within our local banking system. We are going to engage in some serious negotiations with the view of getting debt relief debt relief that will allow us to reduce on the amount that we have to pay in debt servicing. If we get our debt servicing costs down, so for example, if we can cut our debt servicing by half, and now instead of paying the 42 cents to the dollar, we are now paying 16 cents to the dollar. That means we have an extra 16 cents. So every dollar of income raised, we have an extra 16 cents that we can spend on health, that we can spend on education, that we can spend on improving our social conditions, we can spend on developing the city of Roseau. We'll have money to do other things rather than spend that money on debt relief. So we are making debt relief a central part of our campaign promise to the Dominican public, that we'll put ourselves in a position to save money on debt relief. And we have ways of doing that. For those of you who have been following me closely over the past few months, you may have heard me talk about a debt relief program that I was called upon to help think or work on or work out with the United Nations. And my proposal was very simple to them. Why not do a climate exchange swap, what we call a debt to climate change swap? And what this means is countries like Dominica that are extremely susceptible. In other words, we are at the mercy of natural disasters. We get them relatively frequently. Even now, we're in the hurricane season, preparing for another period of bad weather, where if there's a hurricane, it will destroy crops, it will destroy homes, it will destroy the coastline, it will destroy roads, it will the mountains will be troubled, trees may fall, all of those happen. And we're saying that if we can get monies to focus on strengthening our protection against those natural disasters, we can go to those same countries that we owe these huge amounts of money. We can go to them, get some debt relief, and this money that we get on debt relief can go in towards climate change solutions. So these are some of the things that we are committing to working on already. As I said, the blueprint is there. I presented to the United Nations a paper on this, and I'm hoping that it is making the rounds. It is going forward, and that is something that we obviously, as a government, we will pursue, because we believe that if we're able to get that relief while at the same time protecting our country from natural disasters, that is a win-win situation. That is something that can be sold to our creditors. That is something that can be done. And that is something that we are absolutely committed to. So debt relief is very high on the agenda. In addition to that, we are giving the Dominican public the assurance that we will ensure that our local truckers, our carpenters, our skilled persons and skilled workers, they will get to be the first choice for government projects. All right. In other words, when there is a government sponsored project, any capital project, whether it's a building of a school, building of a home, road construction, whether it is doing the kind of works I talked about to help the country resist future disasters, any type of project that involves the use of government resources, our people will get priority on those projects. I repeat it, whether it's dredging of the river. We saw a situation where persons were brought in to dredge our rivers. Why could we not have used our local contractors? Why did we have to give these tens of millions of dollars to St. Lucia when it could have been used there? And we have a situation even now in Dominica where major projects are going on. We have projects, for example, we're talking about a by-election in the Roseau North constituency. We are talking about a by-election. We are talking about the number of projects that are there right in Roseau North, building of the Goodwill Secondary School. Huge project, yet not one person from the Roseau North constituency is employed in making a dollar on that project. How can that be? How can you have projects in the middle of constituencies and the locals are not getting opportunities, and these men are simply standing or sitting by the wayside all day long with absolutely nothing to do, making no meaningful contribution to Dominica, not through no fault of theirs, but through a misdirected policy of this government. And so we'll ensure that our local truckers, our carpenters, our skilled persons, equipment operators, backhoe operators, dumper drivers, you name it, they will have first bite, as we say. They will be given priority on all Dominica projects. So that is what we are bringing. That is our solemn promise to the people of Dominica. And we'll continue to provide opportunities for our young people. Too many of our young people are unemployed. Too many of our young people are not engaged in developing Dominica. And so we will ensure that this is done and that we're able to bring this kind of contribution to Dominica. So these are some of the things that we wanted to promise to you, the Dominican public, to remind you of a party that is serious about developing this country, a party that is serious about bringing change to this country, a party that is committed above all to ensuring a quality of life for the Dominican public that is surpassed nowhere else in this region. And that is our commitment to you. We believe we can do it because the country has the resources, the country has the people, it has the wealth necessary that if it is done well, that every single Dominican will benefit. And it is with this in mind that we were able to tackle another very serious issue, and that is the issue of the National Employment Program. I recall before 2014, there was no National Employment Program. It was when we were campaigning for the general election in 2014, the United Workers' Party promised the people of Dominica that we were going to provide them with 5,000 jobs within 3 years. That was the slogan, 5,000 jobs, 3 years. The same ideas that we now are pushing forward are the same ideas we had then in 2014. That's an election that I took part in for the very first time. And we did not win. We got 6 seats. I was cheated out of my seat in the Granville constituency. We came to within 12 votes in La Plaine, to within 23 votes in Casibros, to within 60 votes in St. Joseph. That's an election that we lost by a combined total of 267 votes. The 5 seats that could have put us into government, we lost by just about, it was 267, 280 votes. I don't remember the exact figure, but it was certainly less than 300 votes that we lost by. That's how close that election was because the people of Dominica believed in the promise of job creation. So, realizing that this was a real popular idea with the Dominican public, the Roosevelt Scarlett administration quickly went ahead and started the National Employment Program. It was not what we had in mind. We were not thinking of bringing thousands of young people to cut grass by the roadside, which is okay, but that's not what we were thinking. But that is what the people of Dominica got because the prime minister did not understand the whole question of job creation, how we can put people to work in different industries, how we can create the momentum that is required, that you can invite the private sector, invite foreign direct investment, get the factories going, get the people employed, and get it moving that way. He simply took them on board and began paying them mainly from the CBI program, the Citizenship by Investment program. That is where the bulk of the resources came from to pay these national employment workers. And so they've been doing that for the past almost 10 years now. Well, just about 10 years. And this is a problem to the extent that the persons are paid well below in some cases, below the minimum wage. The argument is that they don't work the full 8 hours, so it's not really a violation of the minimum wage legislation. But the fact of the matter is those wages need to be increased. We absolutely have to do better in paying the National Employment Program. So I wanted to address this particular issue of national employment. Again, I wanted to take time to explain that it was really the United Workers' Party putting it out there that we had the ability to create those jobs. Well, we are not thinking of government just giving those jobs to the people. It was a completely different process through the private sector. As you may know, government is the largest employer in this country. We need to change that. It has to be the largest employment coming from the private sector. So we'll enable our private sector. We'll encourage foreign direct investment into Dominica, persons who will come in, have the capital, have the money, have the resources to put the factories in place. The incentives will be provided to them that they can then employ our people and we can build those countless thousands of jobs that we're talking about. But we wanted to address this issue of the National Employment Program and to say that what we had in mind was different, but we'll continue to work with them. And because of that, there were a lot of false mentions, if you like, false narratives, persons needlessly arguing and accusing the United Workers' Party that when we come into office, we will take away people's livelihoods, some of them will take away the National Employment Program jobs. But let me make it abundantly clear, as clear as I did at the press conference on Thursday, that the United Workers' Party government will not take away the livelihoods of the hundreds of national employment workers across Dominica. And I want to make it abundantly clear that the United Workers' Party government will not take away the livelihoods of the hundreds of national employment or NEP program workers across Dominica. So we need to thank the NEP workers for the efforts to keep our country clean. What they're doing is valuable work, keeping the country clean. In some cases, you have several NEP workers who are serving in the social area where they are able to provide comfort. They're able to provide services to especially our elderly citizens who otherwise could have been neglected or not taken care of. That's an excellent program to take care of the elderly people of this country and otherwise do work that is contributing in some meaningful way to Dominica. But we are saying that we are going to fix the National Employment Program. And the way we plan to do that is to ensure that we transform the NEP into a skills training program. What we mean by that, the young people who want to learn a skill will be given the opportunity so that instead of being on the roadside all day in the hot sun, they could be learning the skill. So we're going to have to reorganize the training facilities that will allow us to train them in real time. We'll get that training, get the certification, and even while they're being trained, they'll be getting paid, if you like. So we'll be paying them for that period during which that they trained, and hopefully when the training is over, they can then be absorbed within the private sector or somewhere within the program itself. But that is something that we are working to develop a concrete program for the people of Dominica, where again the national employment workers will not be harmed, they will not be terminated, they will not be turned away, but those who are willing to work, those who are willing to be trained will be given the training that is required. So we are going to empower our young people. We are going to provide them with the skills that they require to contribute in a meaningful fashion to our development. This is something that we're promising to you, the National Employment Program. So when you hear it being said that the United Workers' Party government will do away with the National Employment Program, this is simply a tactic that is being used by the Labour Party government to provide fear, a tactic that is meant to confuse our people, a tactic that is meant to keep the vote of the National Employment Program with the Labour Party. But at the end of the day, the better choice is the United Workers' Party because we are offering you an opportunity to get trained, an opportunity to get better wages, importantly, to improve the opportunities that you have, and to ensure that you're able to build a comfortable life for yourself. I must admit, and you would know better than I do, that the salaries that you're being paid now within the National Employment Program is simply not enough. It does not allow you to earn wealth. It does not allow you to gain wealth. It is not consistent with our 10 pillars. Within our 10 pillars is the promise of shared prosperity for all Dominicans. And this is something that we continue to pursue. This is something that we believe that every single Dominican should be able to share in, including the National Employment Program people. And that is why I'm saying to you that we have to do this, that we can do this. We are planning, we are strategizing, we are pulling together that team that will be able to execute on those plans. It's an exciting time for Dominica. It's an exciting time to be alive in this country, quite frankly, because we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We are seeing the general election. We are seeing the results of that general election that will allow a United Workers' Party government to be in place. And so we are very excited about this, about the prospects going forward, and about the ability to absolutely make that change. So that is something that we are committed to. And I just wanted to send that reassurance to the national employment workers that we are not going anywhere, that we are going to be ensuring, we are going to be ensuring that we give you this very, very important option within the National Employment Program. So that will be revamped. That will have a, if you like, a number of young people. Because when you think about it, these young persons who spend the last 10 years, they really have nothing to show for it. And no really real meaningful experience. So if, for example, they have an opportunity and they find to go overseas, they really can't use this. We want to change this. While it is true our first focus is to ensure that persons remain here in Dominica, we understand that people will migrate from time to time. But we are going to make this an offer to the Dominican public that we will ensure that the National Employment Program is restructured into a skills training program, that the persons who want to will gain the necessary skills and experience that they need. We'll continue to fund the program as far as possible, but it will become a government private enterprise and function where persons who are trained within that system can then find opportunity in the private sector. This is an exciting proposal that we're offering to the people of Dominica, a proposal that we believe is workable, a proposal that we believe that after all the money is spent, that we'll get a much better product for it and a much more satisfied employment, national employment worker. So these are some of the things that I just wanted to share with you on this, on what we plan to do, on what we plan to get done within Dominica. And these are promises that we will stand by. These are things that we can do. And sometimes we hear from the other side, we hear from the Labour Party, oh, you guys are just talking because you're outside. You know, I feel kind of sorry for some of the Labour Party supporters who continue to say that, because I understand why they're saying this. I understand their point of view, because they have been looking at it for 26 years, and they have seen a government that is totally incapable of doing anything right. Government that has absolutely no new ideas, has done nothing new or original over 26 years, have the most cabinet ministers in any country in the Caribbean, but yet have the less result, the lowest result. So to them, they're saying, well, it is not possible. That can be done, because what they're looking at is the record of the Labour Party government. So I get that. I understand that. But do not tell us that we're not able to do what we're promising to do, because this government is simply the worst anywhere in the world. I've never seen a more useless government, a more worthless government. I've never seen a government that is so completely uncaring about the needs of the people of Dominica. No original ideas. And even where they don't have the ideas, refusing to bring persons in who could help them develop those ideas. And so don't tell us that we're not able to do it. Don't go based on what you see happening with the Dominican Labour Party. We are completely different kettle of fish, if you like. We're completely different uh, offering to the Dominican public. And so this is our promise. We will do it, Mr. Edmond Charles. We can do it. We will do it. And just watch us, just watch us when we assume the reins of government. The promises that we're making within our 10 pillars, they are sound, they're well thought out. That comes from decades and decades of work and experience, people who know what they're talking about, people who have seen it done in other countries. So we are not just talking. We believe that we can perform, that we will perform for the people of Dominica. So that is where we are headed. These are some of the things that we are going to be doing for the Dominican people and do all of that. All right. So we are going to do this. Now I'm going to take a short pause there because we have someone who is raising a question about the crossing of the floor. So I want to take just a few minutes to address this particular issue or question that has been raised by someone who is listening at this time. And the question is, Dr. Fontaine, can you please speak to candidates having the option to cross the floor post-election? Are there any precautions that put in place to prevent that from happening again? We have seen this in the past with the United Workers' Party, Labour Party, and frankly, that approach is not fair to the voters. It is borderline fraud. Doing something like that should be an automatic disqualification, or that candidate should forfeit their seat. Parties merging is one thing, but individuals switching for personal gain is another. And let me just say, I agree totally with this, with Mona on this. I agree that it is not fair that persons go to vote in an election and that when they vote a particular party into office, that the person that they entrust with that vote then takes those votes and go across. This is a loophole that we have in our electoral process and the electoral system here in Dominica, and it's a loophole that we plan to close. So what we will do as a government, as soon as we take government, as soon as we become the government, we will then table legislation, but it has to be done legislatively. We will table legislation which will allow persons, if after they have been elected into office with a certain party, they are free to move, but they would need to resign. So the process will be you resign, there is a new by election, and if the people agree for you to move, then they will vote you in. So that is how we are going to do this to ensure that persons do not just take up the votes that are entrusted into them and take it over on the other side. I think that is wrong. That's a serious loophole that absolutely must be closed in our constitution or in our legislation. It can be done legislatively, where we'll be able to recommend and put into practice a law that allows for the resignation of a candidate, an elected candidate who wishes to cross the floor. In other words, within Parliament, they wish to move across to the other side. The crossing of the floor is a reference to within Parliament, there are two sides. You have the government side and the opposition side, and you have the floor of Parliament. And effectively, the person who was once on the opposition side can now cross the floor or move over to the government side, or vice versa. We are saying that for that to happen, we will ensure that there is a by-election before this can be done, so that it does not put the ruling party in a position where they may lose the seat or they may lose this. You see, this type of legislation that is now in place of crossing the floor was really a situation under a Westminster system that would allow for opposition party members to probably join the government side or the other way around for government MPs to join the opposition side to probably get rid of a bad government. So if there's a bad prime minister, a bad government, and you want to have a vote of no confidence, then this could be done. This would allow you to actually do this. All right. But what we have is a situation where individuals just taking the votes of the people and the confidence of the people and crossing over to the other side. And this will absolutely put a stop off. So we are happy to welcome the man with us, we are very happy to have you with us. Good.
Yes. Are you
Yes.
hearing me?
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Good
night to
evening.
Piero. It is good. I know you're joining us late, but that is good. We have been talking so, and I will say good night to you. We're just going over some of the major points of the press conference. We talked about the introduction of our candidates, about two of our three exciting candidates. Already, Danny is on the ground doing the hard work in the Rosa North constituency. We talked about Delbert Paris, Juliet Chillingford for the Rosa Central constituency, and we were able to show some of the clips from the press conference where they were speaking and engaging the public. And more recently, we were talking about the National Employment Program or plan for that. And we just answered a very important question from a listener about whether we plan to do anything about persons crossing the floor. And my response was quite simple. The United Workers' Party government will introduce legislation that allows for the resignation of a member who wishes to cross. There'll be a resignation, he resigns, he or she resigns, and then you have a by-election that will then have the candidate. It is not fair that persons vote for one individual, and this individual alone has the right to say, well, yeah, you voted for me, say, as a United Workers' Party candidate, but I can go ahead and join the Labour Party. It is not right, it's not fair, and we'll change that when we get into office. So it's good to have you, and certainly is welcome to you on this night's program.
Oh, yes, certainly. And I must say the press conference was one of great joy to everybody. I think it shows that we are a party that is ready to govern. And you have seen, the unfolding of candidates, new candidates. And in future, again, as you would have said to the general public, that we'll be having more of these candidates being unfolded to the public, and it's an exciting time for United Workers' Party. And we are very happy that, we are able to lead in this regard. And as you talk about the current situation in the Rosa North constituency, we have Danny, who has been the caretaker for some time now. He has won this constituency twice. In fact, the only reason why Labour Party had this constituency is because we had not contested in 2022 in that sham elections. And the question that was asked to you, Doc, whether or not we are going to contest, what the Labour Party think that they can create an atmosphere for us not to participate. And they're doing it willfully. So they are trying now to send their hawks, their people behind the political syndicates at us to actually ask the question, but look, you all said you're not going to contest elections with the same old list. And why is it now that you do it if that is the case? Well, Labour Party, the days are over for your tricks. The people are saying in non-certain terms that we should ever not contest an election, and we are contesting an election, and you give them the answer right at the press conference. And so we are on the ground, Dan is on the ground, and so far it has been very good. This seat is certainly going back to the United Workers' Party, and we have already seen, just that a potential by-election. We have seen that the Labour Party is in high gear, actually, putting its best foot out and trying to at least create that atmosphere of, dependency. We are saying, in spite of people getting what they're getting, we will go further to say that in addition to what people will be receiving from the government, we'll be providing the necessary atmosphere for people to have good jobs so they can actually fulfill their daily needs and the needs of their family. So in non-certain terms that we are going to leave people without jobs, we are, the top on our agenda is to have people get jobs, be employed, and to be working and gainfully employed and to do what they wish to do. But Doc, more importantly, you are correct with this about, people who are bent on, taking people votes and go across. We've seen that in the past. And I believe the people would say straight off that we voted for you. And if at all that you want to get across to another party, then it is just ethical that you resign and let there be another election so that people can choose the people or the party that they wish to govern them. And so I think it's a good move going forward. And I think this is definitely commendable. And I'm sure that the response by the public would favor exactly what you are talking about.
Yes, in this Soso, I also wanted to respond to another very important note that was sent from June. and it has to do with our proposal to remove the 10,000 environmental tax. And she's saying, but why remove the environmental tax when you're just trying to prevent vehicles with bad emissions coming to the country? I would say that is absolutely not the case. The way you deal with this, as it is on the United States, there were 25 and 30-year-old vehicles driving on the streets of the United States. The fact of the matter is the technology is so good these days in the vehicles that they're very low emissions. But the way you tackle this, if you're going to allow older vehicles into the country, you have them undergo an emissions testing process every year, as is done in the US. You bring in your car for emissions testings. There is a test that is conducted that can then determine whether or not this particular vehicle is emitting a certain level of toxicity into the environment. And if that's the case, there are ways to remedy it. So there is a way to deal with that issue. A 25-year-old vehicle is not meaning it is automatically spewing stuff in the environment. That's not the case. That's a false narrative. And in addition to that, we talk about allowing persons to buy newer cars. A new vehicle is going to cost well over $100,000. How many Dominicans have that kind of resource to buy new vehicles? You're talking about persons who are making salaries of $1,500 a year, a month, sorry, $1,500 a month. How are they going to pay a car note that will be anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000? It is ridiculous to believe that somehow persons are going to switch to newer vehicles and they will not need these older vehicles. We are, until we get to that position where our salaries are better, persons are going to rely on those older vehicles. It is not automatic that these older vehicles are emitting dangerous, toxic fumes into the air. That is not the case. The technology has improved with this. They have these converters that does that in the vehicle. You can do emissions testing on, as I said, on a yearly basis. That will take care of that issue. And so we protect the environment while still allowing persons of really very moderate means to be able to get a vehicle, which in some cases becomes a necessity. So yes, there will be incentives for newer vehicles, but we believe that this $10,000 fee is not serving the interests of the people, and we're committed to removing it.
Yes, and interestingly, you made that point, and it is important that we note too and take note that the reason why many people resort to buying pre-owned vehicles, it is because of the fact that people's salaries have been constant, but the cost of living continue to rise, and so there's no adjustment in salaries, which of course will left one to just order what you call pre-owned vehicles. And if at all, this is where the numbers are with respect to persons ordering vehicles in the pre-owned department or class, then it is also good for government to give the necessary incentive, and so not actually impose more or additional taxes on people, because people are already overburdened with high cost of living, and so it is just a bit too punitive right now for government to impose that kind of $10,000 levy, a sort of environmental levy on a vehicle, a pre-owned vehicle. So I am happy that the United Workers' Party is able to identify the needs of people and to work in the interests of people, and to note that this will automatically be removed once we assume office. And this is a promise made, and it will happen, because we have to be caring for people. As we say, people come first. And this is where our heads are, to ensure that people are their plight is lessened with respect to encountering lower taxes and to having things that they can afford. And so in this respect, we are saying really it is too punitive on the people of Dominica, notwithstanding that these vehicles are pre-owned and they are second-hand in a sense. They have some life still, and the people don't have the money. If they could have afforded new vehicles, they would have done so. And by the way, as we say so, you can see who can afford those new vehicles, Doc. The government. They have taken a 52% increase.
Yeah, they're the ones. Yeah,
they're the ones. They get a $1,000 every month for health, and obviously they are covered. And so if you see them, or when you see them with new vehicles, and so they don't care about the ordinary man, and so they will sit around a table, and the only thing that comes to mind is that let us see how we can extract more from the ordinary citizen. but the ordinary citizen is already overburdened and cannot afford more of that. So I'm happy that this initiative of removing this levy is priority for us so that people can continue their normal lives to have the option that suit their income, by the way. And so it's very important. But we're getting a text there right now. Someone is saying is that a reintroduction of the junior secondary program is paramount to the development of much needed technical skills amongst youth. There are too many technically inclined students who prematurely drop out of high school because the education system we have now is focused mainly on academics. And Doc, I know you have been talking about the whole idea of inclusion of the TVET, technical and vocational aspect of our education. I'm sure you agree with this.
Oh, absolutely. So in fact, I mean, that's part of where we see we talk about the training, the skills training for the National Employment Program workers. That is part of what it is. It's reintroducing a technical skills training that will allow that to happen. And this is something, can you imagine the government of Dominica did away, the Labour Party did away with that program? Unbelievable. A program that trained some of our best mechanics who are working now in Dominica, some of our best plumbers, our best electricians, and so on. They did away with that. I cannot believe when you have a growing economy, you need these skill sets, you need these kinds of individuals. And so it is true the economy has been stagnant for many years, but under the United Workers' Party, we're going to revamp the economy and we're going to have a need for all of these skills. And absolutely, doing it through a junior secondary program is probably one of the ways to get incorporated into the school system. But we're also looking at having standalone institutions that can do that so that persons who are not within the who are not of that age, who may be older, will still get the opportunity. So there is a way of going around this. Our experts are looking at all the possibilities, are putting together the planning on this, and it's something that we'll be able to present to the Dominican public at the appropriate time.
Yes, and one of the other good incentive is that we can actually create this kind of partnership between the public sector, private sector, and so we have that private public sector partnership. And what it simply means for us is that when this technical vocational aspect is introduced or reintroduced in a positive way, then you can even have companies, you can have firms actually scouting the actual schools and to look for students who are performing so that they can actually adopt one of the techs or the skilled persons to ensure that he or she's been finished with financial support to continue his or her education, and subsequently that company will recruit that person in their department or in their firm, so that you have what they call continuous education, continuous learning. So that partnership has to be created, and that atmosphere has to be created so that people can scout for the best students. So that will give more students with technically sound agendas to be recruited by firms. And so that will incentivize that sector to get them going that way. Because really, academics is one, we have the lawyers, the doctors, they go this way. Not everybody's inclined that. And by the way, not because that you are doing skills work, it doesn't mean that you do not have to know actually about that skill. So you do mechanic, whether you become an auto mechanic or involving the skill of auto mechanic, you have to know exactly what is it about the engine, the combustible engine, the diesel engine, or the petrol engine. You have to know, obviously, some theoretical work about it. But we're just saying to say that there is scope and there's a sort of opportunity for firms to scout for good performing students so that they can recruit them early, support their education, and then later take them into the firm so that they can continue to thrive and to do what it is. So this is the kind of environment we want to create. This is the kind of enabling environment we need in Dominica so that we work harmoniously with the public sector, that is government, and the private sector. And that's where we're going with this thing. Someone is saying there, when people understand job creation instead of someone giving you free welfare, it's like a grown person depending on their parents for life. As humans, will never be respected. Doc, that is a fine point again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that is why, I think deep down, persons want that freedom. They want that liberty. They want to be able to make money for themselves and then to build a life and a future for their families. But quite frankly, we are not in that position here in Dominica. Think of the countless young men who have been denied jobs also, who have been denied an opportunity. These men can't think of having families. All right, they can't think of instead they can help their parents. They have to depend upon their parents. Some of them have to stay or live with their parents well into their 30s and their 40s because they have no other option. They have no other way. I mean, what kind of society is this that we are building? But that is the situation that we have in this country, and that is why we are fighting really hard to change this. And that is why so we are calling upon the people of Dominica to give the support to the United Workers' Party Team Dominica. Let us change this. Let us set this country on a different path, on a different trajectory. Let us set this on a different path. We need to realign our thinking. We need to realign our vision. We need to move on a different path to where we are. And what this Labour Party government has done is really destroy Dominica to its very core. Destroy Dominica. And in one fell swoop, they have destroyed even the hope of families and that notion of the way you build a strong and solid society. Because no right thinking young lady wants to be someone who can provide for their needs and vice versa. You can't go into building a family, raising children if you can't afford to take care of them because you're not given the opportunity in this country. And that is what we are talking about. We're talking about giving opportunities to our young people to be able to earn good salaries, good wages, that they can then build their families with. And that is something that we offer to the people, something that has been denied, systematically denied to the young people. How many young people so in this country on the 26 years of Labour Party rule, you say, have set up a business and has really established themselves in Dominica and become millionaires? I don't think we have any business like that in Dominica, where you started 26 years ago and 26 years later, you have a thriving business that's employing tens and tens of scores of individuals. That is non-existent, and the government has failed the people. And beyond that, just the basic job creation, basic salary increases. This is the government, as you mentioned earlier, so that saw it fit to give themselves a 30% increase. They increased their wages by 30%. So if originally they were making 10,000, they're now making $13,000 a month, increased by 30%, right? And the majority of Dominican workers in government has not seen anything close to that. Most of them are living below the poverty line wage, even working with government at these very low wages. And that is the reality of this government. And we absolutely need to change that. The way we change that is by voting this government out and putting in place a competent, knowledgeable, and credible government. And that is what we offer. That is what the United Workers' Party Team Dominica offers to the people of Dominica. And that is why I'm so excited about this, the caliber and the quality of candidates that have been attracted to the party as we present ourselves to the public.
Yes, certainly, and it's amazing. And as time goes by, we will be doing just that, unfolding the best that we have, so that we can bring at least some hope to people. One person is saying that, do you have ideas for tackling plastic and metals and recycling, including a composting system? It's an eyesore to see so many old cars sitting by the wayside. Some countries have financial incentives for recycling plastic and glass bottles. And Doc, just before you respond to this, I know for sure in the banana days when we were using polythene plastics, they were non-biodegradable. And then what we were doing, we were picking them up from the farms because they were very obstructive with respect to the plant's growth. Sometimes you have plastic in the earth not being degraded, but obstructing the growth of plants. Sometimes you've seen plants with stunted growth. And when you go below and you dig around the root zone, you see plastic tie up, which means that it will obstruct the growth of the plant and, sort of prohibit, that plant to sort of, not give you a kind of big bunch. So yes, disposal of plastics is very important. But more importantly, though, I think it is important that we start trying to import biodegradable materials so that we have material or items that can be rotted, And it's interesting that the person talk about old cars. And many cars now, right away now, we know we have a lot of cars coming into Dominica. What we do not have is, the proper disposal of it. And if we talk about disposal, we're talking about cannibalizing cars. bringing them down to first stage compression where we can actually export the metal later. So these are the things that we want to do, and that could be a private sector driven project. And that we could, you see, that is where we need to go to incentivize the
So
private
that's
sector.
very strong, so if solutions, and listening to you there, I'm just shaking my head vigorous because that's exactly what we offer. In
Yeah,
fact, just today I was talking to someone about this very same issue. That's something I just absolutely hate to see. You arrive in a very nice village in Dominica, and all of a sudden you have all of those vehicles on the roadside that are rotting, that are just a complete eyesore. And I'm thinking, but this government, they don't go around the country, they don't realize how upsetting that is to the idea of a nature island, that is a problem that we need to deal with. I mean, it's almost as if this government, they don't understand what problems are and they don't seem to offer solutions when they understand those problems.
that's right.
That is something that has to be dealt with. And we will put in place a program, as you said, that will be, of course, encourage investment in that area so that those vehicles cannot be continue to be the eyesore that they are. Some of them are burnt out and they're there. I know a particular village. Every time I go in there, I just shake my head because you barely can drive through. They have all of these old vehicles there that certainly have gone past their useful life, will not be used again, and yet they're occupying space, making been a huge eyesore, and it has not been dealt with as a comprehensive plan to restore Dominica to its nature isle status. That's a problem that has to be dealt with. Garbage collection, timely garbage collection, recycling of plastics and other stuff, ensuring that you import the biodegradable objects into Dominica, moving away from plastics back to paper bags and so on, and cutting down on the excessive use of plastics. This cutting down or putting penalties for persons who willfully how we call that, deface, not deface, I want to say, but who willfully spread garbage all over the place. So you see guys driving and they just toss out the window. They just toss off, garbage. I see people throw garbage off the roadside. This garbage eventually ends up back into our rivers, all right, because they throw the garbage over the precipice, but this precipice invariably leads to a river. So that comes back over time with the rain and the down, it goes down into the river. All of that has to be stopped. Penalties has to be in place for persons who violate. And at the same time, there must be a comprehensive program to cut down on that defacing of our country. Let us maintain Dominica as a nature island so that people will be looking forward to come to a country to breathe and just enjoy the beauty of nature. But until we take care of that, until we deal with this as a problem, we'll continue. And I will just say finally, so the fact that this government has been so slow to deal with the garbage issue. Even today, we still encountering some. It's not as bad as it was 3 months ago, but the garbage issue is not solved in this country. It is not. And so this government, they failed to deal with the problems that confront the people. And it is clear when guys are busy making money, busy earning well for themselves, what do they care about the Dominican public? They only care about coming back during election time to buy your vote. And that's exactly what they're doing. So by the way, as we close, they're trying to buy the vote in Rosanna, but it's not going to happen. The
No.
Rosanna persons are resilient. They understand exactly what is happening, and they're not going to be fooled by a few dollars on the eve of an election. They're way past that, way, way, way past that, and we're very thankful for that.
Yes, and as we are already run out of time, but it's so much of an interesting program, and I cannot understand how a government can have behind its shirt promoting Labour Party and talking about stability. Where is the stability when every day we are facing electricity outages? Where is the stability in that? Where is the stability when you're unable to pick up rubbish? Something everybody's concerned about, and the risk of diseases, particularly spirosis. Where is the stability when you have water, a country with an abundance of water? When you get up every morning, sometimes or every other day, I mean, notwithstanding repairs are being done, but you don't have water and we don't get notice for that. So where's the stability? Where's the stability when people cannot get salaries? Salary increase. Where's the stability? You're talking about stability, Where's the stability of our exports? We import more. Where's the stability? Where's the stability of the passport with the CBI program? There's no stability. In fact, it is going down. Talking about 55% of our, making up 55% of our GDP, and it's down and it's going. Where's the stability? Yeah. And so when you're talking about stability, we need to see that we have passed, gone past our, we have to be above the limit. And what I'm saying is that, Doc, that we have added a new energy source to our grid, it is now that we are facing outages. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, Doc? Can you imagine that? I mean, that is something else. So there's no stability. And so, as you wind down, somebody saying, establish Dominica's first green manufacturing park. It could include plastic recycling and manufacturing, compost production, glass crushing and reuse, e-waste recovery, construction material recycling, training and innovation center, small business incubator for green entrepreneurs. This aligns with the island's image as the nature island and could attract climate financing, international grants, concessional loans, and private investment. Doc, I mean, you have been talking along these lines, particularly when you talk about even for debt forgiveness. These things can be translated into exactly what this individual is talking about. And so I know that's the area of strength. You have the
Mhm.
know-how, you are the man for the job. We are very proud to have you. And I can only say that Dominicans must give us the chance under the leadership of Dr. Thomson Fontaine and his team of women, men and women of diverse backgrounds, of diverse, they have, of different professions. It's our time. After 24 years, there's nothing that this government can offer. And so, Doc,
Absolutely not.
If you have a closing remark, I would
Absolutely
just
not.
like
In
you to
fact,
maybe touch on some of
yeah,
this.
I can close on that note. After 26 years, there's nothing more that this government can offer. If you've not been able to offer it within those 26 years, you can do it now. It is clear. That's a government that is clearly tired, a prime minister that has clearly run out of steam, promising to resign. And I wish he had done so a year ago, and he's still not done it. Still there on the backs of the Dominican public, like he's God's gift to Dominica, when in fact he's not. And we absolutely so the Dominican public has to reject this Labour Party. And let us start in the Rosenhof constituency. Let us win this Rosenhof constituency by over 1,000 votes and send a strong message to this Labour Party government that the Dominican public are tired and that they want change in this country. And I can see no better way to send this message, but that to have a resounding victory for Danny Luge in the Rosenhof constituency in the by-election. A
Oh, yes.
message that will resonate throughout Dominica. And the way we do that, so is by persons coming out in the numbers and voting for the United Workers' Party Team Dominica candidate, Danny Luque. Let us send that message. A message for change, a message for a cleaner Dominica, message for a Dominica control that has control of its tax system, a message for Dominica that says that we will take care of our people, we will provide the skills training, we will deal with our debt issue, we will deal with our environmental issue, we will fix our power issue in Dominica, we'll reduce the cost of electricity to the Dominican public. Will make Dominica a better place to live, to work, and to enjoy life. That is a simple promise to the Dominican public. One that we have the plan in the 10 pillars to shed prosperity, to bring that change to Dominica. And so I'm extremely excited about what the future holds for Dominica. Extremely excited that as we go throughout the length and breadth of Dominica, persons are embracing Team Dominica. They're embracing our ideas. I cannot tell you the number of Dominicans also who've come up to me and said, listen, I was a Labourite. I am a Labourite. I have voted Labour all of my life, but not again. I cannot tell you the number. If I was keeping count, it would total well close to 100 by now, over 100 persons who keep saying that. Listen, we are not, I am not, me and my family, we are not going to vote Labour again. People have come to that realization, and they say, let us start with the Rosenhof constituency to send this message, because you have listened to a plan. We are not about character assassination. We're not about bringing people down. We want to uplift all of Dominica, but we want to present to you our plans in a very sober, rational manner, in a way that you can understand. in a way that you can relate to, and in a way that you will be able to tell your friends what it is that we are planning to do as a government of Dominica. So now we believe that the people of Dominica are ready to welcome in as a government the Team Dominica. And that's the reason why it's also we are spending our days planning, we are spending our days strategizing, we are spending our days putting together those plans on the environment. So when we speak, you see, it comes out just naturally because we have been discussing, we have been talking about it. How do we take
Naturally.
care of this old derelict vehicle problems in Dominica? How do we clean up our environment? How do we do away with rubbish and so on the roadside? How do we beautify our villages and make it inviting? And these are things that we have been consciously thinking about. How do we improve the lives of the people? How do we put more money into their pockets? How do we create jobs? How do we get the private sector engaged in Dominica so that they take off the strain from government because they're providing good paying jobs? How do we get the factories into Dominica? How do we increase our agricultural production so that we can export more, provide monies for our farmers? These are issues that consumes us. These are issues that we are focused on, that we are with laser focus, we are tackling, we are planning, we are putting on paper, we are writing into our manifesto, and we are presenting in programs like this on a weekly basis to the Dominican public. And increasingly so they are listening. The viewership is growing. More and more persons are tuning in every Monday night to hear concrete plans for the future development of Dominica. They are liking what they are hearing from the comments that we are seeing, the many, many comments. Obviously, we can't respond to all within 1 hour, but we are taking note of those comments. We are taking note of the criticisms as well. We are open to criticism. We don't have all the answers, and we welcome persons who challenge some of our programs, like the individual who challenged us on the 10,000. But that's what we want, because we can now provide additional information to the public as to how we'll deal with that issue. And so we are very thankful for the comments that we had tonight. We're very thankful for the many persons who take the time to type in their suggestions, type in their comments, make us aware of some of the issues and the topics that we should be addressing. And we're moving ahead. So, we are Team Dominica, we are proud team. And as I said, in the coming weeks, more candidates coming your way, more candidates, more great, great candidates. And, it's an exciting time for politics in Dominica, but more importantly, an exciting time as we begin once again to build for a future that is better, a future that is more meaningful, and a future that will provide shared prosperity for all our people.
Yes, Doc, and thanks. I really, really want to thank you. And I know we're closing up, but people must be reminded, and they always ask us, "How are we going to do this and that?" But they must be reminded, and they must also remember that the only party that actually introduced the VAT was the Labour Party. The Freedom Party operated without VAT. The United Workers Party operated without VAT. It's under the Labour Party we had VAT, and we're doing better. And more money came into the country under the Labour Party, admittedly, with the CBI program, but less things were done. They cannot give an account of what is happening. So we are accustomed of doing things without, having passed the blame, having the populace suffer. This government, they have all what they have done is to actually extract from the people. They introduce VAT, no introducing the 10,000 on vehicles, because it doesn't look into see what people are spending, and they just go and they just try to block them up.
That
So
is it.
let me just thank you very much for this detailed analysis on the port charges and the other things that you're talking about. And let me just thank you for actually seeking with your team to attract the best candidates to run for the people and persons who are not self-centered at all, persons who are not self-centered, persons who are going to work in the interest of people. And that's what people want to see. We have had enough where this government have been looking for themselves. We want a team of people who know going to look at Dominicans. So let me say thank you to all those who participate. This has been Real Talk with our political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine. And by the way, as time goes by, you will see more of the candidates being featured in this program and other programs. And so we want to thank you for your participation. We always believe that this program is just one-sided. It is highly participatory. We allow you to have your say and to take up your ideas. And don't think that your ideas are going unnoticed. We are taking notes. And they will be definitely be dovetailed into the national plan. So once again, I want to say thank you. It has been Real Talk with you. And so we say till next time, we say good night. Have a great night.
God bless.